UFC 306 only has 10 fights, which means we only have 20 fighters to choose from while building our DraftKings fantasy lineup. But that is not going to stop us from building winning lineups and making money this weekend. My name is Angelo. This is We Want Picks. And I'm going to break down the entire UFC 306 fight card, giving you my picks, predictions, and DraftKings plays. This is not the first time I've broken down a card, and this is not the first time that our premium members have had some wild success. Last week alone, we were flooded with premium members saying, look what I did with DraftKings Fantasy. Look what I did with the bets, of course, but this isn't a betting video. This is a DraftKings Fantasy video. And here's just a few of the snippets that I could just fit on this one single slide. Jay Field said, I won $533 total in DraftKings lineups. I used the optimizers. Angelo's final DraftKings video. That's this one. Thank you, guys. We'll use this cash to buy a 360 camera for my upcoming trip to Iceland. OB Tony said, thanks, guys. Your optimizer comes through again for my third DK GPP takedown this year using your tools. It was a $5 entry. I came in first place, and you can see that was a $1,000 return. Mr. Holbein said, let's effing go printing money. This is a theme. These are screenshots from tweets, from messages, from people in our Discord shouting out our premium offering. But it wasn't just last week. We have put up almost $700,000 in the last year of people just like the people on the previous slide. Some massive takedown, $78,000, $60,000, and then the slow and steady paces of 500, 600, 1,000 here and there. It is not a coincidence that all of them are shouting out the insight, the picks, and the tools. If you do want to be like those people and have access to the tools, the optimizer, the DraftKings ownership projections, the Slate Sleuth, all the tools that can help you win this weekend are available right now for one single package of $10. It's $10 for an entire month. There are two schools of thought when you build a product and sell a product. This isn't a physical product, meaning our only overhead is running the website and paying the employees, which means that at scale, our costs remain constant. So it is important for us to grow as big as possible and get as many people as possible. So I could have been greedy and said, hey, this is insane value. Look what's happening. People are winning left and right. We could charge $100 for this, which we could. That's what all the giant DFS companies do. $50 a sport, $100 for a package. Or we charge $10, a very insignificant amount of money in the scheme of things. And we charge it for an entire month. So people have access to everything for every single event. If you sign up right now at WeWantPicks.com and you click Become a Member at the top, you will unlock premium membership for a whole month. That includes UFC 306, UFC 307, UFC Paris, and then a fight night. And my school of thought was if it's $10, it's a low barrier to entry and we will get more members. And we have almost 4,000 premium members. So I thank all of you for the support. And in return, I'm providing you not only the best value in this space, but the greatest tools you could ever want or need heading into a fight weekend. Unlock all of this, a million other things. This is just fantasy focused. Not to mention the bets and everything else that helps you make money on that side. WeWantPicks.com. Click Become a Member. It's $10 a month. It's a phenomenal way to support us. And in return, you're going to get the greatest offering in this space. WeWantPicks.com. Click Become a Member at the top. Let's go ahead and focus on this card. That was a very passionate plea for premium membership. Normally it's like tools, picks, tools. This was business strategy. This is how we're doing it. Either way, we're going to break down this card. We've only got 10 fights. I was sincere in the opener. That means there's only 20 fighters to choose from. There's obviously some fighters on this card that are never going to be in the lineup. So we have got a narrow window here, and that is most important when you're using the optimizer. The optimizer makes the most sense when you have like these tricky situations and you really need to separate yourself from the bunch. But let's go ahead and break this down. We're going to open up the card with Raul Rosas taking on Aoriqileng. Raul Rosas, non-stop wrestler. And because of that non-stop wrestling, he tends to score really well. Jay Prin, 106 points in that submission. 133 when he finished Terrence Mitchell. 111 with Ricky Turchos. The Terrence Mitchell one, he just knocked him out. Bing, standing one punch. So that was a bit of an anomaly because that's not going to happen here. But 111 in the Ricky Turchos fight, and that first round he lost on a judge's scorecard. So Raul Rosas scores really well, even if things don't always go quite his way. Obviously, he has that one loss here against C-Rod, where he had a couple of takedowns, completely death-gassed, and then just gave up the rest of that fight. He is improving at an incredible rate. He's very, very young. I expect Raul Rosas to win this fight. I expect him to get a whole bunch of takedowns, potentially a finish. And so even though he is a very juiced $9,700 with DraftKings Fantasy, I do think he will be in my lineup. If we take a look at Aoriqileng on the other side, he's a pretty durable guy. He's a very experienced guy. We got to go all the way back to 2021 for his official UFC debut. And yes, he's had some highs and lows, but some of these losses are quality. Molina's decent. Durden, as we know, is just a grinding, nonstop wrestler. He's beating the people he's supposed to beat, like Jay Perrin, Elsie. Amin Zahabi. Faraz is his older brother that runs TriStar Gym. Amin Zahabi, okay, quality loss. Amin's looked pretty good. Amin just beat freaking Bajarat. Johnny Munoz did what he was supposed to do there. And then the Marcos fight, he got blasted in the nuts. So that fight was stopped. Ultimately, Aoriqileng is good. But I don't think he's good enough. And there's enough holes here, just like Cody Durden exposed. There's enough holes here for Raul Rosas to exploit to get him a win on Mexican Independence Day. And it's a very expensive entry, but I like a lot of 7,000 something price fighters on this card, so I will spend the $9,700 on Raul Rosas Jr. Then we have a short notice Joshua Van stepping up to take Edgar Chairez. Short notice is important here because I don't know. Is he going to be in great shape? Is he going to be able to hunt that finish and move forward and keep a pace? Because I know his opponent, Edgar Chairez, isn't going to slow down. I know his opponent will be there, taking a beating, moving forward, potentially waiting to exploit some cardio issues in the third round. And speaking of the third round, that's when Joshua Van was knocked out by Charles Johnson. And I like Charles Johnson. We bought Charles Johnson's headbands with the skullet. But Charles Johnson's not a knockout guy, let alone a bad knockout. This wasn't like a sweet combination and Joshua Van fell and the ref was like, protect yourself. No. Josh Van got blasted late in the third round and was like, clunk, done, gone. And for that to happen at that age against a guy that doesn't have crazy power is a little concerning. Joshua Van should win this fight. He's a very good fighter. He's a solid striker. He's got good aggression, a little bit of power on his side. Nothing insane, but he's got some power on his side. He's very young, 22 years old, and he's this new generation of fighter that has no official background, but he can do all the things. He's pretty good at everything. He is taking on Edgar Chairez. Edgar Chairez was originally on this card. It is Mexican Independence Day. Edgar Chairez is a pretty well-rounded fighter himself. He likes to come forward. Good striking offense. He's fast. He's in your face. His takedowns are okay, right? He's going to work you against the cage, try to drag you to the ground. BJJ is very good, and he will snatch things up in scrambles. His only real issue here is that he's hittable. He's got no head movement, basically a stationary target, and his head just gets snapped back, and he just gets beat on. But he is durable. He's not a guy that you finish. He fought Tatsuro Taira in his UFC debut, which was short notice. He knocked Taira down, and he had two guillotines that were surprisingly close. So all of a sudden, Edgar Chairez might not be the, I don't know how to word it, might not be the unassuming guy that we thought he was, because when he came in against Taira, he was a huge underdog. He's a bum. He has no business being in there with Tatsuro Taira. Then Daniel Lacerda, like, okay, that no decision. Was it a submission? Was it not? And then he finally beat Daniel Lacerda, but he was losing that fight before he snatched up that submission. And that's sort of the case with Edgar Chairez. Gets hit a lot, isn't really winning, and then the tables turn and he wins. He's always going to be there. He's going to be in your face. I'm fading both sides of this fight. Joshua Van should win. He is the better fighter, right? He's more technical. He's a little slicker. He's got a little more head movement. And Charles Johnson gave him some fits, but Charles Johnson has incredible movement. He's never in one place. His hands are fast. He's veteran. He's crafty. Edgar Chairez is going to be a stationary target. Josh Van should be able to piece him up, but with the short notice, with the unknowns there, I'm just going to fade both sides. It's not, if Josh was $8,300, $8,400, I'd consider it, but $8,900, not really a finisher, taking on a very, very durable guy in what's probably a striking match, I'm going to go ahead and leave that alone, fade both sides of this. Then we have Yazmin Jauregui taking on Ketlen Souza. This is going to have to be another fade, even though I'm very confident in Yazmin to win. The reason it's going to be a fade is 68 points in a decision, 65 points in a decision, and I think we get more of the same here. Yazmin Aoriqileng is very powerful. She is a good striker. She's got very good takedown defense. Great pressure, impressive combination. She's never just throwing one punch at a time. She'll enter the pocket with a freaking high kick, and then she'll leave the pocket with straight punches and hooks. She's very creative, she's got great pressure, and she can keep the fight standing where she wants it to be. She does have power, but unless she's fighting like a bowling ball, or unless she's fighting somebody that's just a stationary target that is a bit questionable in the chin department, she's going to outpoint you. She is very expensive at $9,200 because that price reflects, is she going to win? That price doesn't reflect how many points will she score in a win. I don't think she's going to score well, and I do think she wins. She's taking on Ketlen Souza. Ketlen Souza is pretty durable on the feet. She's a pressure fighter. She lands very heavy strikes. Every single freaking thing she does is with 100% power and effort. Everything. She'll throw huge kicks, big punches. She will crush with elbows. She's always looking to do damage. I just think she's going to be a little slower, a step behind. The takedowns aren't going to be good enough, and she's not going to win this fight. There will be a concern, though, with Ketlen's power because Yazmin Aoriqileng was knocked out cold. I watched it in real life. I walked into the UFC. My wife got me floor seats. We walked in. We walked through the tunnel, walked in, bright lights. Boom, Yazmin Aoriqileng just fell down like a toppled tree. And that was the first time I watched her fight live. Massive favorite in that fight, just like she is in this one. So I'm going to fade her in DraftKings, although I am very confident she wins. The only reason I'm fading her in DraftKings is she's not going to finish Ketlen. And the reality is a finish is the only way she's going to cover her salary because without the wrestling, the significant strikes aren't going to be enough. Then we have Manuel Torres taking on Ignacio Bahamondes. Manuel Torres is very good. He's a very good fighter. He's very well-rounded, dangerous striking, dangerous grappling. His striking is not very technical, but he will use knees in the clinch really well, and he just loves throwing kicks to the legs, loves throwing kicks to the head. He is long, he is skinny, and he likes to use that. He likes to use the length to keep you at range. He likes to use the length to wrap you up when he's grappling, and he is used to being the taller, longer striker, the taller, longer grappler. He likes to be the bigger guy. That is not going to be the case in this fight. Ignacio Bahamondes is 6'3" at 155 pounds. He is insanely tall. He's insanely long. He can be a busy striker. He likes to move forward. Decent power. He can snatch up submissions. Great footwork. And he moves really well. He has zero offensive takedowns. He tries, but he has no offensive takedowns whatsoever. But Ignacio Bahamondes is very good. These two losses are quality. John Makdessi, 3 years ago, was a good guy. He's a good fighter. Well, a good guy. I don't know if he's a good. Actually, he's kind of a piece of shit. He had a Fear the Fighter, sorry for the rant, I think it was Fear the Fighter clothing brand where he sponsored a bunch of his fellow fighters. And I got sucked up into this because I was managing fighters at the time. And we had a deal with, I think it was Fear the Fighter. This is like 10 years ago. And then just like shut down, didn't pay anybody and then shut down. So there's a lot of fighters that wore that brand, used up logos on the shorts and logos on the shirts before the UFC took away sponsorships, and he just didn't pay him. So when I say good guy, kind of a piece of shit. Good guy as in his fighting skills. He's a good technical kickboxer. And he beat Ignacio Bahamondes like that. Ludovic Klein, also a very good technical kickboxer, but he worked in the takedowns, and he beat Ignacio like that. Ignacio Bahamondes is a good fighter. He is long. He's going to be much longer than Manuel Torres. He is dangerous. He's going to be the more dangerous fighter in this matchup. And when he wins, he tends to score well because he wins by finish. His decision win over Trey Ogden was decent. 70 points. Not amazing. Not horrific. I think I'm going to spend the $8,000 on him because I think he wins this and he is a dog. We just saw him in that Christos Gallegos fight. He came out fast and hot, looking for a finish, and that's what I want to see here. Get in Manuel's face, make him feel the size, make him feel the length, back him up, and give him a hard time. I think Ignacio can do that here. We saw it in his last fight. He's going to be the pick, and I think I'll throw him in here at the dog money. Then we have Irene Aldana taking on Norma Dumont. I'm going with the dog. Irene Aldana is the favorite here, and she is good. Technical boxer. She's got legit power. We saw insane volume out of her in her last fight at 145 significant strikes. But even with this insane volume, she only scored 88 points. And yeah, technically, if you draft her at $8,400 and she scores the 88, she'll cover her salary. And if you're building a single entry lineup, a cash game entry, that might be worth it. But I don't think she wins. She is a good technical striker. We will get some decent volume out of her, as we've seen in the past. But I don't think it's going to matter. Because I think Norma Dumont, who will be bigger, who will be stronger, who will be a master at slowing the pace and controlling the range, I think Norma Dumont just comes forward, slows the pace, and controls the range. I don't think she's going to be at the end of all of these significant strikes. I think we're going to get a Raquel Pennington style fight out of Norma. I think she's going to work forward, get to the cage, drag to the ground. Work forward, get into the clinch. She's going to stay outside of the power range. Irene Aldana is a good fighter, can have some power, a busy striker. But Norma is hit with fewer than 2 significant strikes per minute, which is an insanely low number. She lands more than 3. And that's because she's a master at slowing the pace. I think Norma is big. She's strong. I think she wins this fight. And I think she may be worth her salary. $7,800. This is a woman who scored 90 against Chelsea Chandler, 90 against Jauregui Durandamy. Yeah, she didn't score as well against Karol Rosa, but Karol Rosa is really busy. Very hard to just bully. 92 against Danielle Wolf. And that's because Danielle Wolf's pretty one-dimensional striker. But I think Norma Dumont gets it done. And if we're going to get her at dog pricing at $7,800, I think I'm going to have to throw her in my lineup. Again, we only have 20 fighters to pick from, and there's a whole bunch of fades on this card. We move on to the main card. We got Ode Osbourne taking on Ronaldo Rodriguez. Got to fade Ode here. Now, I am more of a cash game kind of guy, not a GPP guy. GPP stands for Guaranteed Prize Pool. Those are the $100,000 tournaments, right? There's a guaranteed amount of money, and depending on how many people join, you split up that money depending on how people score and what those lineups look like. Ode Osbourne is very good, and he is probably a phenomenal play for a GPP lineup. And that's because when you enter those tournaments, you're entering multiple lineups. You can enter up to 150 in a lot of them. And you'll need some exposure to Ode because Ode can absolutely win this fight. He certainly has far, far more experience. He's a southpaw striker. He uses range really well. He likes to keep people the end of his punches. He's got a ton of power, great finishing ability, especially at this weight class of 125 pounds. 5 wins in the UFC. He's got takedowns in 3 of them, but he is coming off back-to-back losses where he was taken down, out-grappled, and ultimately submitted. He is taking on the very hyped, very expensive Ronaldo Rodriguez. And Ronaldo Rodriguez is good. He's good. But we're going to price him at $8,600. We're going to make him this big of a favorite against a UFC veteran because he beat Dennis Bandar. That's what we're doing here. He is a pacing striker. He does have some real power. He likes to plot forward. He'll find his spots before laying it on, hunting for a finish. He has no problem literally eating leg kicks so he can fire right hands straight down the middle. He is dialed in. He is laser focused on the feet. Good enough chin, and then he can work in some takedowns. They're decent. They're not amazing, and he is typically looking to strike, but he can work in some takedowns. Once he gets to the ground, his BJJ is very good, but it really only ends up on the ground when other people want it there because he's not forcing that. I do think Ronaldo Rodriguez wins this fight because he has more ways to win. I think he's the better grappler, and I think striking-wise, he can certainly hang. He's very durable, and he can send power. With that being said, I'm not going to have in my lineup too many risks. What's our sample size? You beat one dude who has been cut from the UFC. That's the sample size. I can't do it. Ode Osbourne, though, some exposure. I mean, I try to draft 5 winners, and I'm not convinced that Ode is going to win. But when you're using this, our DraftKings optimizer, make sure you use the settings, you set your exposure, and you have some exposure to Ode. Because there is a decent possibility that he wins this fight, pulls off the upset. And if he does, at that price point, he will be in optimal. Then we have a pretty controversial fight. And I say controversial because everybody's positive Daniel Zellhuber is going to win this fight. People are 100% sure he's going to win this fight. First of all, I don't think so. Second of all, even if he does, he's not worth his salary. So don't put him in your lineup, even if you're a Daniel Zellhuber nut hugger. $9,000. He has never scored that. Even in a finish win. He's got a finish win against Christos Gallegos, 85 points. Ignacio Bahamondes scored way more than that when he smoked Christos Gallegos. So don't put Daniel Zellhuber in your lineup, even if you think he wins. He is very good. He's very good. Impressive striker, very aggressive, dynamic style. He's got incredibly long limbs, so that gives him power with the range. He has got leverage in the grappling. And despite those long legs, which is usually a bad thing for wrestling, he's got very good takedown defense because he widens them the way he's supposed to, almost like a Sean Woodson. If he is taken down, he's wrapping you up. He's using those long limbs. Daniel Zellhuber is very good, but I am picking against him. Esteban Ribovics, in my opinion, is the more dynamic guy who has more ways to win. The fact that this is that wide is shocking to me. I don't know how this isn't a pick'em fight. And if you want to say, oh, Zellhuber, blah, 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 why isn't he minus 150? How the hell is he almost a 3-1 favorite? Esteban Ribovics is very, very good. Who did he lose to? Loik Radzhabov? That is a freaking quality loss. And in that fight, he had a knockdown. He had some grappling success. Loik is a nasty wrestler. Esteban Ribovics is very good. He's an impressive striker. He's got some sneaky power. His strikes are tight, they're short, they're accurate. He's got this guard here and he works forward, he picks his shots. He will mix up. The way he knocked out Terrence McKinney with that head kick was wildly impressive. Esteban Ribovics is good. This is going to be a close back and forth fight, and I think he wins. I'm going to spend the $7,200 on him because, I mean, look at the upside. $9,200 when he beat Kumela Kirk. And obviously, Zellhuber's better than Kirk, but you get the point here. This is a very affordable price point for a guy that is very, very good, who I also think wins. Then we go to the featured fight of the evening. We got Brian Ortega rebooked against Diego Lopes. If you didn't know, you probably do. This was supposed to happen at UFC 303. And then Brian Ortega's fat ass changed the weight class in the middle of the night. Then his fat ass pulled out, didn't even get the fight. He made weight at the new adjusted weight class. The next day on fight day, didn't fight. There's rumors, oh, he had a fever. Ooh. Take 2 Advil, shut your mouth, and go fight. Anyway, I'm going to get so much hate for that because people just don't understand sarcasm and just love riding some of these dudes. The reality is Brian Ortega accepted a fight, couldn't make the weight, adjusted the weight class in the middle of the night, and then pulled out on fight night. The fact that he doesn't get hate for that is crazy. It's crazy. Like, that is honestly mind-blowing. People, like, just accept it and make excuses. Like, that's... You didn't show up to work. It's crazy. Anyway, there's that rant. Brian Ortega is very good. I picked him to beat Yair Rodriguez, and people shit on me for that. I was like, honestly, I thought he looked good in the first Yair Rodriguez fight. And people were like, are you crazy? You fucking fat Guido? Are you crazy? He was getting pieced up. And I was like, no, he wasn't. I thought he looked pretty good. And Brian Ortega's durable shit, and Yair Rodriguez has cardio issues, and that's what we saw here. Brian Ortega got the absolute piss beaten out of him. Then he was able to survive, move forward. Ultimately, Yair Rodriguez death gassed and Brian Ortega got it done. And that could happen here because he's fighting Diego Lopes. Diego Lopes is very good. We have only seen him in 2 decisions in the UFC, though. He lost to Movsar Evloev on short notice because he was taken down 100 times. Fine, no problem. He did beat Dan Ige, but he slowed down dramatically in that 3rd round, and Dan Ige won that 3rd round. The reality is, though, before you start trashing Diego Lopes for that performance, he was on the other side of the unprofessionalism from Brian Ortega. When Brian Ortega changed the weight class in the middle of the night, Diego Lopes is the one that got phone calls in the middle of the night and didn't sleep as well. When he pulled out on fight night, Diego Lopes was the one who had to accept an opponent on 3 hours' notice. So that'll mess with you emotionally. That'll mess with you physically. There's a lot going on there. And he's just a young guy trying to make this happen. So yes, he gassed, he slowed down, but he looks unbelievable for this fight. I think Diego Lopes wins. I think it's a dominant performance because what does Brian Ortega do well? It's take a beating. He takes a beating really well, survives, and makes something happen. And I'm not trying to take anything away from him because I love Brian Ortega. I actually do very much enjoy watching him fight. I'm going to trash you if you don't make weight, change things around, and then pull out of a fight on fight night. You're going to get trashed for doing that. But the whole of his career, Brian Ortega is great. I'm looking forward to this fight very much. I think Diego Lopes gets it done. $8,700. I think I'm going to have some exposure there. I think I'm going to throw him in a lineup or 2. I mean, he knocked out Sadiq Youssef, who's supposed to be a phenomenal striker. He smoked Pat Sabatini, who's kind of great. He smoked Tucker. So yes, this isn't the highest level of competition where Brian Ortega on the other side is fighting Volk, but lost. Is fighting Max Holloway, but lost. He beat Korean Zombie. Fine. I think Diego Lopes smokes Korean Zombie too. Diego Lopes is the pick. $8,700. I think I'll have him in my lineup. Then we have the co-main event of the evening. Alexa Grasso will be in my lineup. $8,300 is a discount. Let's look. Well, the scores aren't going to do you much justice because she won the first fight by submission. But I was going to say, let's look at the gap and how it's closing. As you know, this is a trilogy fight. This is the third time these women are fighting. The first time, Valentina Shevchenko was taking down Alexa Grasso, having success, was going to win that fight. She was winning that fight, was going to win that fight. And then Alexa Grasso had a phenomenal scramble. We had Valentina spinning to throw a kick. Alexa literally trained it, boom, took her back, submitted her, won the belt. They ran it back. Alexa Grasso, an underdog in the rematch because everybody saw the first fight and said, well, Valentina was winning the first fight, made a mistake, and Alexa took advantage of that. She certainly can't do that twice. The second fight was a draw. It was a draw because one judge had it for Alexa, one judge had it for Valentina, and a third judge had it for Valentina but made the third round a 10-8 to force a draw. So it's a draw. I disagree with that draw. I think Valentina won that fight. With all of that being said, I am picking Alexa here because what did we see? In the first fight, we watched Alexa get out grappled. We watched her get out wrestled. She was able to make something happen because she doesn't quit on herself and found an opportunity. In the second fight, all of a sudden, Alexa had a knockdown. Alexa had her own takedown. She defended more takedowns than she did in the first. So what we saw was the gap, the grappling gap was closing, but the speed, the youth gap isn't widening because they're always going to be the same age difference, but you get my point. The speed, the skill level, that gap is also tightening. So Alexa, I fucked up the gap reference. Jesus Christ, Angelo. The skill gap is tightening. The speed gap, the confidence gap is widening. Alexa's starting to run away with that. Okay, we got there. You guys get what I'm saying? We good? Crybabies. The reality is I think Alexa Grasso wins this fight. We saw the only two times the fight was almost finished was on the Alexa side, and one time she did finish it. She had Valentina on ice skates, knocked her down, raining down strikes. Alexa Grasso wins this fight, and she's very affordable. If we do take a look at Valentina, she's one of the greatest fighters to ever do it. And if she had beaten Nunes one of those times, I would argue she is the greatest fighter to do it because she had to go up in weight and lost to Nunes up. Valentina Shevchenko's reign of terror beat Priscilla Cachoeira, beat Joanna Jędrzejczyk, who was an all-time great, Jessica Ai, Liz Carmouche. This is Seminara because she got married, but this is, what's her name? Ketlen Chikagian. Beat Jennifer Maia, beat Jessica Andrade, beat Lauren Murphy, beat Santos. Like she beat literally every single one of these women was ranked in the top 5, and she blew through them. Absolutely blew through them. But it's a changing of the guard. This sport doesn't do well for aging vets. We have a favorite in Alexa Grasso. The first time she's a favorite in this matchup. I think she gets it done. We have 5 rounds to work with. I am going to have her in my lineup. Then we have the main event of the evening. I'm going to tell you right now, pick your side. Pick your side. Whoever wins this fight is going to score a shit ton of points. So pick your side. And don't let me convince you otherwise. I'm just going to tell you what I think, but if you disagree, then stay with your gut. Because I'm not confident enough. I didn't put money on this fight. And I'm probably not going to have either one of my lineup because I'm not that confident. We got Sean O'Malley, the laser pinpoint accurate striker who can win this fight by knockout. This could look exactly like the Aljamain Sterling fight, where he comes in a little reckless looking for a takedown, step off, bang, drops him, gets it done. That's what this could look like. Or he could get taken down like crazy. I am going to pick Sean O'Malley here for a couple of reasons. One, we watched him beat an aggressive wrestler already in Aljamain Sterling. 2, we watched his masterclass in striking against a very dangerous, powerful striker in Chito Vera. 3, I think he lost the Petr Yan fight. I don't think he won that fight. But what we did see in this fight is that he is an absolute dog. He is not a quitter. He is not somebody that's going to fold under pressure. I thought he was. We saw that the first time he lost to Vera. I thought he was a quitter who folds under pressure. And I repeated that for every single one of these matchups. I said, I don't know, Almeida might win. Sean O'Malley's a quitter under pressure. Ooh, Motino's tough. Short notice, he sucks, so that's fine. Ooh, Julian Paiva, this guy moves forward. Could be an issue. Sean O'Malley's a quitter. Ooh, Pedro Munoz. He's never fought somebody like this. Pedro Munoz is going to light up his legs. Sean O'Malley's a quitter. Then he fought Piotr Jan, didn't quit. That was a wild back and forth scrap. They both were in some trouble. And this fight is when I was like, Sean O'Malley is, yes, good, but tougher than I thought. And that's what matters. Then obviously he smokes Aljamain, smokes Chito Vera. And Sean O'Malley's looking like a completely different fighter than just a few years ago. But if you're on the Merab side, well, you're going to get one of these performances: 111 points, 167 points, 164 points, 108 points, 148 points, 136 points, 124, 129. It's insane. These are all 3-round fights, except the Jan one, obviously, with the 167. But those are all 3-round fights. He scored 164 points in a fight that ended in a second round. He scored 148 points in a 3-round decision. Merab Dvalishvili is a DraftKings gold mine. If you think he wins, he 100% needs to be in your lineups. If Merab wins, he will be in an optimal lineup. He's at an insanely low price point, and he scores a ton of points. It is nuts. What he scored 78 points in a fight where he had 0 takedowns. 0 takedowns. He scored 78 freaking points. Merab Dvalishvili is a non-stop, I don't care how boring I am wrestler, and DraftKings Fantasy loves that shit. They love that shit. Because control time scores in DraftKings. Takedowns are 5 points each in DraftKings. All of that matters very much. Do not let me change your mind, though. I picked Sean O'Malley, but Merab Dvalishvili 100% can win this fight. No outcome in this fight would surprise me unless Merab knocked out Sean O'Malley standing. That is literally the only surprising outcome. If Merab takes him down, submits him, not shocking. If Sean O'Malley steps off, blasts him, knock him out, not shocking. If Sean O'Malley submits Merab, that's also not shocking. The only shocking outcome would be Merab by standing knockout. That's very highly unlikely. Guys, you pick your side. That is the breakdown. I am looking forward to this card. I'm also looking forward to getting more winning tickets from you guys. We have successful events week after week. It's actually crazy how successful we have been. And then when I get tagged and I get the DMs and we get the tweets and I see it in Discord, I love it. Because that's the whole point of this. Build a product that is affordable, that works well, that people love, so that everybody makes money. All boats will rise in high tide. And what that means is every single part of the We Want Picks community will do well. We will all rise. We will all have success with the high tide. And the high tide is the premium member tools, the premium member insight, the premium member picks, and the premium offering as a whole. WeWantPicks.com. Click Become a Member. It's freaking $10 a month. And tickets like this. Back to these. This is not an anomaly. Week in and week out. WeWantPicks.com. Click Become a Member. And good luck this weekend.